Today's events. So the first thing, make sure that you watch the video completely. If you ever have trouble with the Ed puzzles, just email me or actually comment in Google Classroom. I get notifications when you make a comment in Classroom. And if I can't come up with a fix, I will send you the link to the YouTube video. But if you watch it through YouTube, you have to email me to tell me you watched it completely to get your participation point. All right, so as you look at today's plans in Google Classroom, we are going to continue the keynote presentation today. So you're going to need your keynote handouts. You're also going to need your homework packet because we're going to go ahead and grade page 3 and 4. If you can't split screen the video and grade in Shobi at the same time, just grade it in Notability and then resubmit it into the same folder, just so I can see that you made those corrections. I take that into account when I'm assigning points. Okay. Just a little reminder about the Flipgrid challenge. Don't forget, I have this video attached in Flipgrid for 3 Smart Smarts. Record yourself explaining something that you learned or better understood by watching this video, or for 10 Smart Smarts, record a dance or make up your own. I'm going to give you till Friday 10 Smart Smarts. And if you comment on somebody else's, please make it just positive. Okay, page 3 and 4. Let's grade it. And again, remember, just pause this anytime you need to go more slowly. Okay. External changes such as noises, or internal changes such as hormones, or you could have had any other internal changes as well. These are both stimuli. Stimuli are anything that bring a response that causes the nervous system to help the body to adjust or react. Again, I'll look at what you have. You could have had other terms there that would have made sense and would have worked. All right. The sequence or the order, the structures of a neuron. So not the types of neurons, the structures in a neuron. So that would be dendrites, cell body, and then on to the axon. And here is the graphic organizer. The 2 different divisions of the nervous system and what makes them up. So make sure that you are including cranial and spinal nerves to be more specific. All right, this is a reflex arc. This is a different type of reaction. So this is a reaction like if you touch something and it's really hot, or you stub your toe, you react much quicker because that message goes to the spinal cord or the decoding. That's why you're allowed to react so quickly. So that starts with a skin receptor, sensory neuron, to an interneuron that's in the spinal cord, to a motor neuron, and your muscle contracts. All right, so the sensory neurons and the receptors for each one. So smell is the nose is the organ, and the receptors are called olfactory cells. Taste is the tongue, and the receptors are taste buds. Vision is your eye. The rods and cones are actually the receptors that are stimulated, that get the message going. Hearing, you have your eardrum and cochlea that are responsible for starting that message. The effects of depressants are that they slow the activities of the central nervous system. Remember, central nervous system, whenever I say that, is the brain and the spinal cord. Stimulants speed up. How alcohol could affect the ability of a person riding a bicycle? you can see any response that's going to show that a person's muscle control is going to be slowed down, judgment, and concentration will all be impaired. So clearly that would not make a safe driver. Okay, we talked about the brain last time, so I'm going to let Tim and Moby just kind of review the parts of the brain for you.
And the human brain is more complex than any other animal's. Its billions of nerve cells allow you to think, remember, dream, see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Yeah, pretty much everything you think of as yourself, from the foods you like to being good at math, is contained inside your brain. It even controls stuff you don't have to think about, like keeping your heart beating. All that work takes a lot of energy. Even though your brain weighs only 3 pounds, it uses up to 20% of the oxygen you breathe. Well, different areas of the brain do different things. There are 3 major parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. The cerebrum, where you think, is the biggest part of the brain, and the part that most people are familiar with, a twisty mass of gray matter. It's divided into 2 halves called hemispheres. Within each hemisphere, different areas or lobes take care of different kinds of thought. Well, like the frontal lobe is where planning, problem solving, and speech happen, and the temporal lobes are associated with memories. In many people, the 2 hemispheres are specialized to perform certain tasks. For example, language and math skills are often controlled by the left brain, while the right brain controls creative tasks. Underneath the gray matter is the limbic system, where your emotions begin. It also contains the thalamus, which is like the brain's switchboard, passing information from your body to the correct part of the brain. And the hypothalamus, which controls your body temperature and food intake. Without the hypothalamus, you'd keep eating and never feel full. More. The hypothalamus plays a major role in the endocrine system, in which chemicals, called hormones, regulate a lot of your body's natural processes. The cerebellum, located underneath and to the rear of the cerebrum, coordinates your body's movements. Whoa. Then there's the brainstem. It monitors and controls all the little automatic functions that keep you alive: your heartbeat, your breathing, your blood pressure, and whatnot.
Okay. All right, so let's kind of put some of this together. So the nervous system, remember we said, is divided into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. We haven't talked about the peripheral nervous system yet, but when we're talking about the central nervous system, that is the brain, which consists of the cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem. Now there are further divisions, but we're just going to focus on these 3 main ones. So the central nervous system, brain, and the spinal cord. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about the spinal cord, and then we're going to get into the peripheral nervous system.
What does the spinal cord do? From Olivia. Your spine supports your whole back, and it's the reason you can stand up straight, bend over, and turn side to side. Along with the brain, the spinal cord is part of your central nervous system. In fact, the spinal cord is an extension of the brainstem. Your spinal cord is only about as wide as your finger, and it's made of neuron bundles that carry impulses from your body to your brain, and from your brain to your body. A canal in its center contains a special fluid that provides nourishment to the cord's cells and also acts as a shock absorber. The gray matter that surrounds the central canal contains the cell bodies of motor neurons that are responsible for voluntary movements, reflexes, and internal functions. The white matter contains the parts of these nerve cells called axons, which relay information to and from the brain. 3 layers of connective tissue called meninges protect the spinal cord. The amount of gray and white matter in the spinal cord shifts depending on the part of the cord we're looking at. In the cervical part of the spine, there is more white matter because lots of information is traveling back and forth between the brain and that area of the spine. In the lower part of the spine, there's less information exchange and less white matter. Surrounding and protecting the spinal cord are bones called vertebrae. Not all vertebrae are created equal. They're different shapes and sizes based on their position and function in the spinal column. There are 8 cervical vertebrae in your neck, then 12 thoracic vertebrae in your upper back, 5 lumbar vertebrae and 5 sacral vertebrae in your lower back, and 1 coccygeal vertebra in your tailbone. This may seem like a lot of protection, but the spinal cord is really important, relaying commands from your brain to the rest of your body. And your spinal cord is responsible for automatic reflexes, like when you instinctively pull your hand away from something hot. And that's your spinal cord.
Okay, and so here is actually a vertebrae. This is one vertebrae, and then do you see that opening there? That's where the spinal cord would go through. Okay, so let's talk about this spinal cord, which is the major highway connecting the brain and the peripheral nervous system. So the peripheral nervous system are all of the nerves that extend from the brain and the spinal cord. So your spinal cord extends from the brainstem, remember, which is that lower part of the brain, and it's made of bundles of neurons that carry the impulses from all of the parts of your body to the brain, and then from the brain to all of the parts of your body. The spinal cord is actually about as big as round as an adult thumb, and it's about, on the average, 43 centimeters long. So again, the central nervous system is crucial to maintaining your body and your systems functioning. And so God's provided quite a bit of protection. So the central nervous system, the brain, is protected by a bony cap called the skull, and then the spinal cord by the vertebrae, and then there are layers of membranes. And between some of those membranes is a fluid called the cerebrospinal fluid. And you can imagine the purpose that fluid might serve. It cushions, acts as a shock absorber, and also helps to protect. Okay, so let's revisit our graphic organizer. So now we see the nervous system again. It's divided into the central nervous system, which is the brain and spinal cord. The brain has those 3 parts. The peripheral nervous system are all of the nerves. So your cranial nerves coming from the brain and your spinal nerves. Okay, so let's talk about the peripheral nervous system. So this is what connects your body to the brain and spinal cord. You have 12 pairs of nerves that come from your brain. Those are your cranial nerves. And 31 pair that come from your spinal cord. Those are your spinal nerves. And these are bundles of sensory and motor neurons that are held together by connective tissue. And you can see here, there are nerves that are controlling everything, every part of your body, without you even thinking about it. This is miraculous. The peripheral nervous system, there are 2 divisions within the peripheral nervous system. So you have the somatic and the autonomic. All right, so let's revisit our graphic organizer again. So on the peripheral nervous system side, so we know we have the nerves, and all of those cranial and spinal nerves can further be divided into the somatic nerves, and these control everything that's voluntary, and the autonomic, which control those things that are automatic or involuntary. So again, you see that the somatic is controlling those that are voluntary. That would include your skeletal muscles. So all of those muscles that you are choosing to move, to walk, to lift things, to run. The autonomic is controlling those things that you have no control over and don't even think about. The heart rate, your breathing, the digestive system, blood pressure. So the somatic controls voluntary actions. It's made up of cranial and spinal nerves that go from brain and spinal cord to your skeletal muscles. The autonomic control those involuntary actions, the ones that aren't under conscious control, like heart rate, breathing, digestions, your glands. And again here, you can pause here and just take a look at all of the very specific actions that are controlled by specific nerves. You are fearfully, creatively, magnificently, and wonderfully made. Okay, so let's look at your homework is going to be page 5. Let me get that for you over here. I'm going to go back so you're not confused by the Thursday. We're going to stop there. All right, so your page 5. You are defining each term. And then you are going to use these terms to help you to label this diagram. Here it says to name the 3 kinds of neurons and describe the function of each. Don't forget to do both. So we're talking about sensory, interneurons, and motor neurons here. And then answering 13, 14, and 15. And again, these are due in Shobi by 10 a.m. on Thursday. You will also have an open note Google reading check on Thursday over chapter 15, section 4. And again, use the Keynote handouts to help you with note pages as well as the book page. And don't forget about the Flipgrid Nervous System Hip Hop Challenge. Have a great day. I miss you. I love you. I'm praying for you.